there's two moves. So Trudeau, first of all, he announced that he's proroguing Parliament, and I guess we'll come back to that. But then the second thing he announced is that he intends to resign, which is again why he didn't simply resign on the spot. And I think he should have just resigned on the spot and delegated to somebody else. They should have appointed an interim person. I think they're making their life complicated, and in fact, they're making their life really, really complicated because their constitution, their leadership race right now, I don't think they can have a new leader in time for the end of this prorogue period. They won't have a new leader by March 27th.
Well, I think even the way that he described why he was resigning was the way he set it up was that so that he didn't have to just say that we'll hand off the leadership, because he said that the whole reason was because he couldn't carry on with all the infighting in the Liberal Party. So just to make it seem like, oh no, like I'm fine. The party is what needs to get its house in order, right? Before we can continue.
Well, so I just pulled up on screen here how many times this has happened. So this is the vote of no, or motion of no confidence. So it was 1926, 1963, 1974, 1979, 2005, 2011. Votes of no confidence in 2005 and 2011 were the result of explicit confidence motions presented by the opposition. So just so we have that for kind of clarity for whenever somebody loops back to watch this.
And what I wanted to say is that this is where I think everything gets a bit confusing. And this is when you asked me about proroguing, and I was like, well, what's the purpose? Non-confidence is something different too. And I think in most normal cases, we would have had either the prime minister resign, like we were saying, or have a non-confidence vote. And there were non-confidence votes, but the Jagmeet Singh and his party were propping up the Liberal Party. And what's incredibly frustrating too is the Liberal Party themselves were propping up Justin Trudeau. So they led to their own demise. In a normal state of affairs, this would have already happened at one of the earlier confidence motions. Somebody would have said, there's a lot of internal strife, but the Liberal Party and the NDP party, I think, did this to themselves. And now they're all trying to they're surprised that this is what Justin is doing. I totally can understand that this is what he's doing. And Mike just said it too, is one of the first things I heard him say is, we've got a lot of internal problems. Okay, so you don't stop all of government, is you deal with that matter on your own. And that's not an issue for Canada to be dealing with. And that's why all of this is incredibly, I think there's definitely a good chance on a legal challenge, because the purpose of the prorogation is not a little reset. This is for their own purposes, and that's not what it's for.
If he hadn't done any of this yesterday, and it was status quo like it was a couple of weeks ago, then what would have happened is on January 20th, we would have gone back to Parliament, and in all likelihood, a couple of weeks later in early February, the government would have been defeated, and then we would have gone to an election.
But can I just say,
sorry, but I just want to mention one thing.
Yeah.
One of the other things we need to remember too is these kinds of shenanigans, if they had occurred under almost any other circumstances, would be just viewed as shenanigans, perhaps. But to do these kinds of shenanigans now, when the Americans are about to get a new president in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, this is a crazy time to be pulling these kinds of shenanigans.
And I think that's where the legal challenge comes in on side of, when the UK was going through Brexit and, they tried to prorogue then. It was like, no, there's some serious shit hitting the fans right now. We're not going to let you guys escape this. We need an actual responsible government. You're not shutting down government so you don't have to answer the tough questions. We need you here doing your fucking jobs. And it's much the same for what we're facing, because January 20th is Inauguration Day. That's when Trump takes seat. And we've seen what he did in his, when he was elected as 45. His first weekend, he'd signed 100 executive orders. he just went absolutely buck wild. And, he seems to have a wild hair up his ass with Canada right now. And for all the right reasons, the same reasons that Canadians have a problem with the Canadian government. Same wild hairs up all of our asses, right?
So there's no reason that you need to have an existential threat to challenge this. So from the decision in Britain, the UK, it said that even if you're affecting the core and essence of the business of the parliament, so that clearly that's happening. I think any Canadian citizen can challenge the government, and that was the first thing that we on this decision. So any decision the government ever makes, you could go to court within 30 days and challenge it on a judicial review. So that could be like a WCB decision, like a government type body. That could be a bill and that's what we're hearing LGBTQ community is doing in Alberta. They're bringing a judicial review. Nobody's been harmed yet. It's not a claim against the government of Alberta, but they're saying, I have a problem with the legislation that you've created, and I'm going to ask the court to review it, and these are the reasons why. And so that's the one we already have. What I posted earlier today is because this issue is actually affecting business in Canada, not just Canada, but at every provincial level as well. Every premier in Canada should be issuing a judicial review of this decision. And I think that
just pause for a second, but you've said so a judicial review, no matter what, the court's not going to hear that like tomorrow morning, right? Is there a way to make that super urgent, or is it a 30-day thing?
We've never seen this before. I think that provinces could make the argument to the Supreme Court saying this is an issue that is of national public importance. 5 provinces are making this claim because provinces first have to make a claim to their provincial Court of Appeal. But I think 5 premiers can come together and say, let's all challenge the government on this. This is affecting our business. This is costing us. Like they talk, what were they able to do when they said that truckers were costing the government of Canada so much money? They could do the same thing here. Like I can't even imagine what the actual consequences are of this kind of game playing on behalf of Trudeau. I also said federal opposition leaders, especially like Jagmeet Singh, who's the one that said, yeah, I'm going to bring them down. Okay, put your money where your mouth is. Challenge this decision because there's a lot to challenge here. Can the Governor General do this, and on what basis? Let's have this put out in court. Or is it similar to what happened in the UK and that they went too far? They don't have the ability to do this. I think this is an incredibly legitimate challenge. And the reason I said premiers and federal opposition leaders should be doing this, as opposed to like a couple Canadians, which is what we already see today, is like Canadians have to come up with the money to do this. This is a serious public interest issue that's causing economic problems on everybody. Provinces have trillions of dollars in budget. They could put a few $100,000 towards this issue rather than making some Canadians scrape up the money to go do it.